Okay, it seems that we are live. If the techniques side of this streaming is working, I hope. So good afternoon, good morning, good wherever you are in the world or at this moment listening to this streaming. And we are back for our Dart Conversations. That's number 4. Victor, are you sure it's number 4?
It's number 4.
Number 4, or
yeah,
we have to number from the original fights. It's
yeah. Well, okay, gotcha.
Okay, don't agree with my words. Just say hello. Hello, Victor. How are you?
Hello, guys. Pretty good. Actually, it's pretty good.
Okay, I think we are sharing the same stuff today. Take a look at this. This is the 15th anniversary of DevFest. No, it's not a Flutter related, so very bad for us. So, Alfredo, how are you today?
Hey, Tim. How are you? Very good. A little bit cold, but it's what it is here in Netherlands.
You always complain about the weather in Netherlands. We know you live in Malaga and you are thinking about
but also, Dutch people complains about the weather, so I can do it.
So, Victor, could you please introduce our colleagues today?
Of course, I'm really proud to have two of us, Lucas Josefiak. If you don't know yet who is him, he has to talk about the Widgetbook, and he knows a lot of it. On the other hand, I have Mark Sullivan with us. He's another big guy in the Flutter community and in the Flutter world. So I think they will be. I expect to have them. How are you, Lucas and Mark? Everything okay?
Yes, amazing. Thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, all great here on my side. Thank you so much for having me as well. It's a pleasure to join you guys here.
We're making
okay.
a joke about this is number 4 for starting fighting and now making conversations. That's good. We went from the war to the peace. No, Victor, we changed the name.
Yeah,
Mention.
exactly. We use a different name, avoiding mistakes or misunderstanding about our intentions.
Well, initially your idea was to make to have some fight.
Yes, that was my initial idea because, well, I from the beginning I was not completely comfortable. I mean, with Dart, I thought Dart improvements. I wanted to make more echoing about the things that Dart could had on hold. And that was the beginning, and that was the starting idea to find a way where we could talk about Dart and about the language, and to try to say the team leading the language, like we want more, we want to hear, we want bring more things in the language, more features. But well, actually now it turns a bit like a place with big college where brilliant Flutter people that they can bring us different point of views and beautiful conversations.
And also I think that Alfredo, this year, and Lucas and Mark, this year we closed 2024 with the I would say convention from the Flutter team saying that this is going to be the year on production. So this is also very good because instead of, I mean, I would say have some discussion, it's good to show up cases like we are going to do today with the thing, no, Alfredo?
Yeah, sure. And also, this is as Victor mentioned. We want to be like trying to involve more the community to discuss a few change or news in the Flutter ecosystem. So again, this is a very good place to show these kind of things. Also, as Andreu mentioned, this Flutter in production year, we want to show very nice products or package or I don't know projects that they are using Flutter and they are in production and they have very good results.
But I think Victor, your phrase, I changed the color to a red one just to make it a little bit more brilliant. Bye macros. So welcome Flutter 3.10. So start with the thing, please.
Well, I think we have a Spanish sentence that is like one of lime and one of sand, and it is like it means like we bring let's say bad news, but I'm not 100% sure if bad news is the best way to talk about it. But of course, we have more interesting things like we can talk. So let's start a bit about it. First of all, our introduction. This is us today. So if you bring late, today we will be with this big team today. This is the bad thing, or this could be the one of lime. That means, well, if you scan this QR code, you will have the official link where they talk deeper about the update of Dart macros. That macros was launched couple time ago, but the Google team is saying like this is not as stable as expected. It could be a big thing because metaprogramming could be, in my point of view, something great. But well, if you read it completely, if you read the full article, you would see it is not as stable as expected. So they will be focused in other approaches. They know the most important thing could be serializing, but they will bring us those improvements, but not over macros. So let's say either the rest of the team, Mark, Lucas, did you know about this? Do you have your point of view? Do you want to bring us your points of view?
Yeah, I'd be happy to start. I mean, we've been, or I've been working with Google's Flutter team now already for quite some time, and they've been super supportive, reacting to any kind of feedback from the community. And as you said, metaprogramming would be quite huge if we can get it done. But I mean, that's the word if, and unfortunately, it has just not been possible. I mean, kudos for trying, but then also kudos for quickly saying, hey, we can't get it done. So we instead focus on what we're good at. And as you said, serializing is the biggest issue that they identified, and they basically found out, okay, via macros we can't solve it, so let's find a different way of solving it. So in my opinion, it's actually a good thing that the Flutter team quickly tried, quickly kind of failed, but in a good way, because they quickly found out, okay, that's not the approach to go for. And then they now found an approach to go for, and also focus is always great, and I'm happy they found their focus. So I might be having a different opinion than the majority of the Flutter community here.
Yeah, also, this is very important to mention that like the main reason they say that Dart, the idea of the language is to be a lot of good experience developing stuff, not only Flutter, also Dart apps. With these powerful tools like Hot Reload and Hot Restart, and they say that with this macro approach, it's very hard to achieve this. So, for example, Mark has a production app. So, what do you think about this approach, about to be like the most productive language approach compared to another language?
So in terms of the macros, I didn't really have a strong opinion on it because it was in the roadmap and it was something which wasn't available for us to use as developers. Since they've made this announcement that it's no longer going to exist, they did say that they're actually going to focus on improving the build runner and improving the results with that. I did see recently that they were sharing some results already with build runner, and they were doing some tests with JSON serializable, and already they're seeing 6 times faster on 1,000 files, which is pretty incredible. So in that result, they were talking about how they went from a build which was taking 120 seconds to a build which takes 20 seconds. And for me, some of the things I use in my project, so I am using Widgetbook, so I'm having to use build runner with that. So it's of course it's really cool to be sitting here alongside Lucas. He's going to talk more about Widgetbook, but also behind the scenes I'm using, for example, build runner to generate different files inside of my project, and to know that there's going to be improvements in terms of the speed is massive. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great. I think, well, I mean, I love it when I hear the team talking about the long terms, because that means they really love the products and they don't want to create, short announcements, but without thinking in long terms. This is something that I really love, because that means the Google team really loves this, and they really believe in this project.
Victor, excuse me, one thing. You know that we have some people that sees our streamings related to this,
of course,
Flutter technology, and then at some point, not everyone is as all like connected to the Flutter technology as you are, because you are the experts. Then could you please make a step backward and explain about what's the point about this macro thing? Because I know it, but I can tell you there is a lot of people that is saying us that they are not as they like Flutter. They are starting in Flutter. They already are developing W, but they are not as deep knowing the last. I don't want to say fight, but the last thing is happening on the Flutter Dart community. So could you please explain, only for 30 seconds, 1 minute, what's the thing about the macros?
Okay. Macros is this experimental, is an experimental kind of compilation. This new, or well, new, saying new is not a really good word, but with this, it allows you to generate code in compiling time. So that could be useful, for example, for repetitive code, or this could be similar like Java annotations or preprocessor annotations, for example, in Swift, they exist. And you can say, for example, if you are compiling for this platform and insert a piece of code, or things like that could be reliable, but not actually, as Alfredo was talking, it's not as easy as it looks like, because you have to compile you have to think about, we have two different compilers, the which use the Dart virtual machine and the native for native code. So, and we have how to restart and how to reload. So a lot of layers has to be maintained and useful. So that's why Google, after a bit of time, they think, okay, it is not as stable as expected, and it is not maintainable. Include this feature, it will include a lot of bugs or a lot of issues and complexity that could we use in other way. Because something requested was improve the serialize and the serialize in Dart. Serializing and deserializing could be improved in a lot of different ways. That's if you read the full article, you will see they are saying we want to create those improvements, but not inside of a macros feature.
Okay, so for the guys that are a little bit more new to the platform, this has been something that has already been implemented, but suddenly Google decide by itself that we are getting rid of this behavior of this.
It was in an experimental. It was in an experimental.
They say it clear. Okay, Lucas, they say it clear. This is going to be an experiment. They say that. Do they say that clearly? So
yes. Yeah.
So they started to experiment. That's Google. So we know they like a lot the beta thing. They experimented and suddenly. But my question, maybe Mark, is they did that by their own or by the push by the community?
I can't really speak on behalf of the community, but there was
You're part
a lot
of the community. No, you are not.
I am part of the community. It's one of these issues that I actually don't have a deep amount of knowledge on. I didn't look at it too closely. I did look into trying to use the experimental version of macros at one stage, and I actually ran into some issues myself. So I just thought, okay, I have a startup which I need to focus on and get stuff done. I don't want to spend my time debugging why this.
You don't want to play with experiments. You cannot play with experiments.
Exactly.
This happens the same with Alfredo. Alfredo, you're also a man on production. You have to make a production at whatever time in the week you have a new release of your different applications. So do you play a bit with the experiment or not?
No, actually no, because I know that it was under this very experimental flag. So I guess I thought that, okay, when this becomes at least a beta, more stable, maybe I can try with this. But yeah, as you mentioned, it was under this flag experimental stuff. So it was very interesting to know or to start playing about new implementation with this macro approach. But in the other hand, for the Dart team, they learn or they know now a bit more about what is the approach to become like the language itself. So it's very nice.
Sorry, Victor, for interrupting you, but I always think that we have sometimes a very high-level conversation about the technical things, and people that will see this or are seeing this at this moment, maybe they don't have the deep knowledge of you all have of the platform and things are happening. So please continue your.
No, it's great. All right, and well, after this one offline, now we have to talk about. Mark.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you're going to go on from this topic, and I think we actually need to commend the team, the Flutter team, to come out and hold their hands up and just say, look, we experimented with this. It wasn't working as we expected. It was taking too long. And I think that's actually showed a lot of courage from the team to admit that this wasn't going right. And I really appreciate the team's honesty when it came to that, because I think a lot of other companies, they might have just tried to hide and ignore this and just be like, oh yeah, like it's coming down the pipeline. Maybe it'll be released in 2026, and then it'll go to 2026, and then next thing, oh yeah, 2027, you know. So I actually just want to commend them for that and being very open and honest with the community. So sorry for
Good point.
interrupting.
Very good point, Mark. Very good point, because it has to be noted. I think very important thing.
Yeah. Also, don't forget at the end of the announcement, they say we have concluded we are simply too far away from shipping macros with the developer time performance we require. We are not confident we can adequately solve those problems in a reasonable time frame. So, they will continue researching about new different things. Another area, they say, we will still pursue better data language features. So another area we'll be investing in is improving build times. And they have plans to ship augmentations, future we prototype it as part of macros. So more new improvements and probably experiments we will receive. And in my point of view, I will be happy to receive all of them. Let's see where they can jump. Let's see what is coming. All right. Now we have to talk about something that it was just at the launch, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I received the alert at the end of the day yesterday, because in my time zone, it's quite like this. And this is a big announcement, because, well, it is not just another version. Because, well, first of all, 104 unique authors contributing. That's great. A lot of new things are coming. I have, first of all, a question for all of you. What do you think about Cupertino widgets? Do you know really use case with Cupertino apps? Mark, starting with you.
So with Casa, most of the UI that we've implemented is actually very custom. It's mainly modified on top of material. So we use material as basically like the base and build on top of that. In terms of my experience over the course of the 8 years I've been working with Flutter, I've been working full time now 4 years with Flutter, but part time just in the spare time, tinkering, trying different things. I never actually looked too much into Cupertino widgets, which I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit. But I'm not an iPhone user. It's not something that I'm very familiar with. And for that reason, I think if I went down the line of creating a Cupertino app, that people would start sending me messages afterwards of like, why have you done it this way? This is not the way Apple does their apps, or iOS developers would do their apps. So it's something that I've actually taken a step away from, and I occasionally look at to see what the changes are. But it's not something I can really be like, oh yeah, I was really waiting for that, because I don't use it.
Yeah, I can say this more or less the same. I work in the project that I work. We usually have this custom UI that is between Material and Cupertino. As Mark mentioned, Cupertino style is a lot for iOS user, but I guess currently in the 2025 there aren't too much apps that they follow these strict rules for Cupertino. So they have more or less like this common or universal UI for both platforms. So it's very nice to have it. Also, if someone want to develop only an iOS apps and have this full style iOS, that is very easy to achieve with this widget. But I don't think that is for a lot of developers. But good to have.
Yeah, so I mean, with Widgetbook, we are supporting all sorts of customers, also like all sorts of Flutter users throughout the world, and especially in the US. iPhone is or iOS is the dominant platform, and that's why just today I had 2 calls with customers of ours that are building Flutter apps, but for now targeting exclusively iOS, and one of them also uses Cupertino, which is exclusively, but honestly, it's one of the very few times I've ever seen it, because usually, as Alfredo and Mark mentioned, usually custom UI is being built, and usually the custom UI always basically just extends the material widget. So usually it just depends on material, and we extend it a bit, and then we proudly say it's custom, but actually it heavily depends on material, and that's usually the way we build it, and that's also usually the big strengths of Flutter, right? That you just have your custom UI, and you can basically easily use it then for all the different platforms that you care about. But as I said, so in the US, sometimes we see users that really use Cupertino widget just because iPhone is or iOS is the dominant platform. But I think in the rest of the world, it's at least equal. And what we see, especially in Asia, so mostly especially in India, even there's very, very, very little iOS usage. So most of our users from India, for example, use Android, sometimes also exclusively. So I think it really depends on the region that you're developing for.
Lucas, just to note it, I would say that 50% of the people that is going to see this streaming is from India. Actually, at this moment, there are a couple of dozen of people from India
awesome.
seeing our work. And later, at some moment, I will pass you a few questions that they are asking. I tell them to if they want to make questions, but at some point. So maybe Víctor, do you allow me 30 seconds?
Yeah, of course.
Specific Anigdra Sindha, so Indian. Specific to mobile development, is Flutter gonna take over traditional calling XML anytime soon? Alfredo, for you.
I don't think so. Like native development will stay for like almost the time that the Android or iOS exist. But I guess in the future, a lot of companies will realize that they don't need a native development for their apps. It will exist, like native for sure, and you can pick native. It's very good. You can build amazing apps with native. That's not the point about the quality. And probably for the company, it's about the resources. It's about if you want to be like in multi-platform, if you want to go quick, if you want to do like this one project and ship everywhere.
If you want to go web, like yesterday you do your presentation, no? You want to,
for example. So yeah, I guess you can choose Flutter, you can choose native. Both are very good, but they have different approach for this.
Good, thank you, Alfredo. Anigdra, if you have any other question, just Víctor. Sorry for interrupting. Okay. That's
no. It's perfect. It's perfect. Following a lot of Cupertino updates, and talking about material, the transition builder, following the new material page transition builder is really awesome, because if you see the link is they present a gift where you can see the transition is quite beautiful, and the progress indicator they have updated them the progress indicator with a new style with Material Design 3, but it is not enabled by default. If you want to update those styles, you have to set the property year 2023 to false. It is fine, the name of the property. It looks like I don't know why year 2023. if you want to disable it. Maybe it is kind of internal joke or something like that. And also with the sliders, happens the same. They release new sliders, and if you want to use them with this new Material Design 3, you have to set the year 2023 property to false. A lot of big fixes, because they fix triggers, improve tab bars, or
Can I add something very quickly?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, 2 days ago when we had this Liquid Galaxy section about Flutter Web, I explained a little bit about the HTML render, that we have 2 options to render in Flutter Web. So for now, in 3.29, they removed this HTML renderization. So it's good for the framework because it say that we are improving a lot of the Canvas style, the Canvas kit approach in web, that it will help us with the performance and a lot of things. But on the other hand, the 2 days ago talk is not.
Really, they removed this. So,
Yeah.
So guys from the Liquid Galaxy community, there are a few on the chat, on the stream. Remember, whatever Alfredo explained to you the other day, maybe you have to be sure that if you're in 329, it may not work.
Yeah, talking about.
So Lucas and Mark, excuse me, you can interrupt whatever you want. You don't have to raise your hand. Just open your mic
Of course.
and go.
Feel
We're
free.
Friends.
Exactly. The accessibility point is they improve the screen readers for forms, for example. When something is wrong now, they will only announce the first error in the form instead to announce all of them. And the same with the drop-down menus. Now they announce properly the labels.
Can I ask?
Yeah, that's actually quite useful for all the apps being built for the European markets, right? I don't know if all of you are familiar with that, but that's especially true for our larger enterprise customers. That by June 1st this year, there's a new Accessibility Act in the European Union. I mean, the Europeans, we are really famous for one thing currently, and that is regulating everything, right? It's our strength. And
you can always go to Medellin. I think they have less regulations there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why Mark went there, right?
Was listening to us. I might a joke for you.
Especially for European.
I didn't know about that. We're going to have a new regulation about usability for
accessibility. So basically, by June 1st, if you're a larger enterprise, so it basically depends on how much revenue you're making with your app. And if you're basically above that threshold, your app has to meet certain accessibility requirements.
So you mean that if you are a startup or you have a very, I will say, not hundreds of thousands of users, you can stay out of the regulation. But if you are over this, if you are, I don't want to say this, Instagram, you have to follow 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to follow 100%, and if you don't, you get a big penalty, or you are just removed from the app stores. And we have a lot of users that are using Widgetbook also for testing accessibility, and that's why the more support Flutter developers receive out of the box from the Flutter and Dart team, the better for the community.
I don't know if for mentoring the Liquid Galaxy community is another side project to have Mentor Josh is seeing us, or I will send the exact point of this moment of the conversation, but I'm 100% because he's from India, he's not aware of the European stuff. But this is very important because he's a master in usability, and he has to remember that the world is big. If you're in India, you think that the world is India because they're so big. But in Europe, we also think the same, and we think we have to regulate, and then the rest of the world. Very, very important.
Yeah, but I think it's of course amazing that we're thinking about inclusivity that much, right? So I mean, they are just people who are. I mean, I'm wearing glasses, for example, but it's not too bad, fortunately. But there are people who are doing a lot worse than Victor and me, who are visually very, very impaired, and it's amazing that they are already able to use some apps as good as we are. But basically, from June 1st onwards, they're able to use basically all the popular apps. As other people.
So this is going to be a huge amount of man hours because most of the people that we haven't take a look too much. I imagine Lucas that the law has clear technical specification of what kind of accessibility you need, because the law has to be, you have to this, follow some rules, and it will be I would say hundreds of thousands of manpower and woman power developing, making the changes on the application to comply with the new regulation.
Yeah, true.
So Alfredo, for example, excuse me, Victor. Alfredo, are you aware of this, and are you working on the changing
we had some practice, but in our case, we have this EV driver app. So yeah, it's not about the accessibility related with the vision, maybe with another thing that we are reviewing. But yeah, we have to take a look on. So I have some colleagues here in very large banks in Netherlands that they have to work very, very hard to achieve this.
No. You can use Widgetbook for that, Alfredo. We can help you a bit.
Okay. Let's let Victor continue the conversation, because Lucas, you have to present your thing, and also Mark. Also, I want to know something about hunting your house. Caza, what's it? Caza tu casa?
That's the Casa. That's it.
Caza de casa.
That's it. The Casa. Exactly.
I will not say beautiful, but it's a lovely name. Victor, continue, and remember, you have to offer those guys to make the presentation of their things.
Okay, I will be fast, or at least faster. They did several improvements for WebAssembly to include it, because they did initially when they released it in May in 2024. If you want to use it, you had to use a special HTTP response headers. But now these requirements has now been relaxed. Now you can use limited single threads. So that's great. And now I would like to give. To let Lucas present or talk a bit about what exactly is Widgetbook and why we read or hear a lot of it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot. Let me share my screen if that's fine. This will allow you to take over from Victor. Yes, perfect. I'm gonna do it. Awesome. Guys, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So what we're seeing here is actually a Widgetbook. Now you can ask yourself, what does Widgetbook do? And Widgetbook mainly does two things for you as a Flutter developer. First of all, you can use Widgetbook to build your own design system in Flutter, or to build your own component library. And how it works is, on the left side, you can see the side panel, where you have the chance to basically see the catalog of each and every widget that you're using in your app. And I can then select one of those widgets, for example, a card or an app bar. And Widgetbook therefore allows us to, first of all, catalog our core components, or from a design language speaking, our atoms. But you can also catalog more complex widgets. For example, a molecule that consists of multiple atoms, or even entire pages. And you can not only catalog one variant of your widgets, but you can catalog many variants of it. So the basket view here, for example, has one variant, or in Widgetbook we call them use cases, and that use case is called empty, because currently our basket view is empty. But we can also have a non-empty, so a filled basket view as well. And the great thing about Widgetbook is, in the end, it's just a Flutter web build. So it's another Flutter app running kind of inside your Flutter app. And that's why it's interactive. So you have the chance to not only see how your widgets look, but also you can test the behavior of it. So I could, for example, increase the number of mangoes that I'm adding and see, for example, that the total is going up. And thereby Widgetbook can really serve as like your component library or design system. And how you can set up Widgetbook is you just basically use the Widgetbook dependencies in your project. So you just put Widgetbook in your PubSpec YAML file, and then you can make use of our annotation-based code generator. So you can use our add use case annotation to basically tell Widgetbook what widgets you'd like to include in Widgetbook. Then you provide a name for the use case. In our case, we just have one use case here, so we call it default for the app bar. Then we need to provide the type of the widget we'd like to return. So in our case, an app bar. We can optionally link it to Figma as well. So we can link our Flutter widgets to the Figma design. And then the only thing that is left for us to do is to write a method that is returning the app bar. And in here, we then have to mock the data. And in our case, with the app bar, for example, the app bar takes the required string title. So we gotta mock the string, and once we do it, that's all we gotta do. We can then let the build runner run. So we talked before about macros and build runner. So with Widgetbook, we're using it heavily, and the build runner allows you then to automatically keep your Widgetbook maintained. And that's basically how the entire structure of the Widgetbook is being generated for you. And afterwards, you have the features of add-ons and knobs as well, which allow you to test your widget further in different configurations. So, for example, we could very quickly test our widgets on all the different device sizes that we care about. So in our case, for example, with the demo app, we wanted to make sure it looks great on an iPhone 13 and also on an iPad device. And you can very quickly change it just in 1 second, and you don't have to rerun your emulator all the time during development. Same goes for languages, for example. Quickly test it in English, German, Spanish, Hindi, whatever language you like. Can very quickly test it also.
Quick question.
In dark mode. Yes, please.
How hard is to add new devices?
Oh, very easy. It's basically it's just a one line command. So basically, we have a device frame. So basically, we have a Widgetbook widget, and the Widgetbook widget has a few parameters that you can choose. One of them is our list of add-ons, and we have a device frame add-on. And for the device frame add-on, you can basically then choose from a list of devices. So we chose here iPhone 13 and iPad, but we're just adding another line of code here. You can choose another device as well.
Great.
Yeah, so it's
quite easy.
Yeah, it's fairly easy. And in the end, what I'm showing you here is just a small demo app, not too complex. That's why I'm only using a few add-ons here, but you can actually use many more. Maybe if Mark likes, Mark could also share his Widgetbook, because I know Mark is using it as well. In his app, maybe he's using add-ons that I don't. But for now, there's one more feature that I'd like to show you for the open source package, and that's our knobs. And the knobs allow you to, on the fly, change the input of our widget. So basically, we can on the fly override any property that we have here. I mean, you need to select it first in the code, but if you do so, you can really override any property here and basically test it on the fly how it works. Also helps you as a developer a lot during development. You can, for example, very quickly make sure that in case someone orders a lot of mangoes, what happens to your UI. And in our case, we can see the moment you order a bazillion mangoes, there's an overflow happening. You can argue now, of course, who orders that many mangoes? We don't need that use case, but you can very quickly test that with Widgetbook, again, without having to rerun your code here all the time. You can just test it on the fly with Widgetbook. And that is basically the open source package that we built. So first of all, it allows you to catalog your design system or component library, and then it's also a great developer tool that basically helps you with very quickly previewing your widgets during development, and you can really make sure that that works as expected. And on top of that, we then also built a collaboration platform, Widgetbook Cloud. But first of all, I don't know, guys, do you have any questions regarding the open source package?
Actually, I was going to make you a question regarding this. I was going to make you a question because, as I told you, plenty of the guys that are seeing this now at this moment are open source developers. So you say the platform is open source?
Yeah. So
my knowledge, I don't know too much about it. So is you
yeah, no worries.
Is open source everything?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Widgetbook is an open source Flutter package. So you can just use it on PubDev to get started. It's completely open source. But on top of the open source package, we then build also Widgetbook Cloud, which is our paid platform that we set on top. That allows you to easily collaborate with designers. I can also, if you like, can share in like.
So it's a matter of the paid version. Yeah. I mean, it's on top, exactly. But you can collaborate between the coders and the designers, and of course, they will be around whatever places they are located. So okay, that's the added value of the paid platform, the cloud platform.
Yeah, exactly. So with the cloud platform, I mean, there are two main features. One is hosting. So we allow you to easily host one Widgetbook build for each and every new commit that you push to your repository, for example, to GitHub, but we're also supporting any other Git provider. So you can either access the build then straight from GitHub, and you can then easily access that build just via just from Widgetbook. But the main feature that we have for collaboration here is that we are actually automatically validating your pull requests for any changes. So basically, what a pull request already today is really good for is it shows you exactly what lines of code were changed. And it is important because as developers, we don't need to review the entire code base all the time. What we only need to review is what actually changed in the code base. And same should be true for UI reviews. You don't need to review the entire app during QA testing or during design reviews. What you really need to test is what changed. And that's why we have an integration with your pull requests. And you can, again, either access your Widgetbook change, or you can access the Widgetbook's review feature straight from GitHub or via the Widgetbook Cloud UI. And in here, you can then see in a side-by-side comparison exactly how the change looks visually. So we can here see now that the primary button changed. That's how it looked in the baseline commit versus that's how it looks now on the latest commit. And in the end, because we cataloged all of our widgets in Widgetbook, we can then see that this primary button was also used on that page and also on that page. And that's why those pages are also shown here. And I mean, we talked about accessibility and visual impairment, and there are people like Víctor and me who might have a harder time spotting exactly what was changed. And that's why we also have a toggle div button to highlight exactly what was changed. And usually the workflow for teams is then if any change happened, if any visual change happened in your pull request, we by default block your pull request and therefore prevent you from merging. And only once you are sure that no change was actually bad, so basically all the changes are good, then you go ahead, approve the pull request here, or basically approve the review here on Widgetbook Cloud, and then the check in your pull request turns green, and then you can safely merge with confidence. So in the end, Widgetbook Cloud serves as an insurance that no visual bugs are shipped to your customers, and really ensures great collaboration with your design team.
Very nice, very nice. Mark, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, one of the things I just want to say whenever we're looking at the open source package is just really about how useful I find Widgetbook in the past. Even just the open source package itself, working with different clients. And I think one of the underrated features is the ability to set an initial root whenever you're configuring your Widgetbook. Because for me, whenever I'm developing a new feature, one of the things I do is I develop it actually first in Widgetbook, and then I see what the widget looks like individually by itself. And then eventually, like if it's going to be plugged into an existing screen, I can then move that into the existing screen and see all the changes inside of Widgetbook. So that in itself is extremely powerful. The second feature that I really want to emphasize with Widgetbook, I swear I don't work for Widgetbook, but
we know you work for Casa.
It's just a great package, and what Lucas and his team is doing is fantastic. But in a previous project that I worked on with another client, we had to add support for lots of different languages, and some of them were actually right to left languages instead of left to right languages. And for me, that was the first time I ever had encountered building an app which had that requirement. And a few of the guys who were a little bit more experienced with this sort of setup explained to me what happens. And then using Widgetbook, we could actually see, okay, everything's flipped over to the other side. And we could see everything was expected with, for example, Arabic or Hebrew or whatever language you're going to be using. And that was incredible to be able to see that quick change and not have to change the languages inside of the emulator or change the language inside of your device. So having that inside of Widgetbook is phenomenal. So yeah, a huge thank you to Lucas and his team for such a great tool.
Very
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah. So Mark, if you
a beer to Mark wherever you fall in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, if Mark is ever looking for a sales position, let me know.
Victor, what else? What's next?
Well, I would like to ask you, Lucas. I show you have an alpha version for a major version, like 4. Could you introduce, if you can,
spoilers?
Yes, that's the point. I want spoilers. That's the point. Tell us what is.
Yeah, so basically, Widgetbook 4 is it's going to be a huge change, a huge update, because as we discussed prior to this, macros should have been solving all of the build runner issues that all of us have been having, and with Widgetbook 4, we are actually aiming to no longer need to have the build runner. And so that's number one. And number two is we want to get Widgetbook in your testing folder. Because right now, what we are already doing is with Widgetbook Cloud, we are automating golden tests. For all of you who are not familiar with golden tests in the audience, golden tests are visual UI regression tests. And those tests solve the problem that when we as developers ship a new or commit new changes to our repository, make any new changes, we might, for example, change the home screen, change, let's say, the primary button on the home screen, but actually the primary button is also used, I don't know, in the checkout page, in the profile page, and we are just not aware of that anymore. And then maybe this change on the home screen actually breaks the UI in other stages, and that's why visual UI regression tests have been developed, and that's one test that we're automatically writing for our customers by using the cloud. But there are many more tests that we could actually help our customers automatically with. But to achieve it, we need to move Widgetbook to your testing folder. And the great benefit would also be that when building Widgetbook, you always have to mock all of your dependencies of your widgets. And usually when you're familiar with test-driven development, what most of our customers are, then you already wrote a lot of mocks. And currently you have to mock parts for Widgetbook, you need to mock stuff for your tests. And by moving Widgetbook to your testing folder, you can just reuse your mocks also more easily. Yeah, so these are the three most important changes happening, but there's some more as well.
I can imagine that's going to be.
Go, Mark.
Sorry.
No.
I can imagine that'll be extremely useful also to be able to share the asset files. So any images and icons that you have inside of the package, you can now share them. I do have a question about that setup, and maybe it might be the case where you have the option to do a separate package for Widgetbook if you so desire, compared to having it inside the test folder. Because in one scenario I can envision in my head, based on previous projects and previous clients I've worked with, we would have like a shared UI package, which would be imported into our mobile app package. So it could be specific components which is going to be shared between the web app and the mobile app. But if it's only contained within, for example, the mobile app package, does that mean that you wouldn't be able to see those from the imported package, or can you still see them because they're imported and they should be fine? I just want to throw that out there.
So it's a great question, and the use case or basically the best practice that we are recommending, and what most of our, especially bigger customers who basically share the same design system in multiple apps, what we recommend them to follow, and what's working very, very well for them is you create one Widgetbook for your design system, and then you create also app-specific Widgetbooks. And the reason for that is that, especially then also with the Widgetbook Cloud, where you can simplify your reviews and run those automated golden tests, you can make sure that not only when you change parts of your design system that the changes are fine, but that actually all the changes that you also have in your different apps are great. That's why that's the setup that I would recommend you in that use case.
Awesome.
Thank you for your answer.
I have a question. Well, more than a question, maybe it's Nidra is also questioning us if you can show us fast, if not, no problem, how the widgets look in different devices.
Yeah, sure.
When you did the demo, you selected, you used the drop-down menu, but they are asking specifically to see how the system works. Yes.
Yeah, so basically, we have the device frame add-on, right? And the device frame add-on allows us to choose between different devices that we pre-configured in the code. And in our case, I added an iPhone 13 and an iPad. And you basically just switch through them here in the drop-down menu.
Before only show the iPhone, and you didn't change to the iPad, and now we can see the difference how the system adapts. Okay.
Exactly, and I mean, what you could also do, you could also change from portrait mode to landscape mode. And here we would, for example, see on landscape mode, it looks quite weird, right?
Yeah.
So that should probably be changed, and that's something that I mean, just by spending 1 second here, you can already see it. And I mean, as Mark mentioned, especially for developers who are building new widgets here using Widgetbook during the development right from the start, is actually quite powerful.
You say the devices are defined in the whatever place you say, but you have already a library of devices, or
yeah, exactly. So I mean. Yeah, so it's also mentioned in our docs. So we have our docs.widgetbook.io. There we mentioned the entire documentation, and in here we have a list of add-ons that you can choose from. So by now there are already 13, but I know one of our users already built a 14th add-on and just contributed back to the package. So by now we have a few thousand companies that are using the open source package already in that part, and we also have a few thousand users in our Discord server. So they have been quite useful. And in the device frame add-on here, we're basically showing how you can set up the device frame, and in the end, pre-configured in Widgetbook, we have support for every Apple device that's available on the market. We tried the same with Android, but as you know, there are quite a few. Exactly, it's not going to happen. There are quite a few Android devices, and it's always good, as Mark also said, as a startup to focus, right? And that's why we decided, okay, let's not build every Android device. There are some, but in case you're missing any device, you can always easily configure your own custom device. And that is, for example, all the code you got to write for some generic phone here. So you just provide an ID that you give it, you provide a name, the name is going to be shown in the Widgetbook UI, then you choose a platform that you'd like to target, and then you just provide the screen size, and boom, you're done.
Okay. Víctor.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, Lucas. Now, let's give a bit of time, Mark. What do you have for us? Do you want to present us a bit of your app? Do you want to talk about, do you want to do promo of something?
Yeah.
Maybe yourself?
Caza de Casa. Caza de Casa.
After the Casa, so I could give a bit of a background on my story. So, and really what led to the creation of this app. Before I moved to Colombia, I was living a digital nomad lifestyle, working around the world, going from place to place. And I was always using Airbnb and running into frustrations with Airbnb. And I think there's quite a lot of frustrations across the world right now with Airbnb because they're partly to blame for the inflation of prices. And that's actually down to their model and how they make money. So they actually slap on a 50% fee on top of what the host will receive in terms of their payments. So whenever I came to Colombia, the first problem I had was I actually arrived into an Airbnb, and it was a bit of a disaster. There was mold in the bathroom. There was dust all over the place. It wasn't really maintained at all. And for me, I just got a little bit fed up with paying like the extra fees that I didn't think was very necessary. And that's sort of brought about me searching for an alternative. And I was like, okay, I want to look for the local websites here in Colombia. I want to see what I can find out here. But the recommendation I was getting from a lot of people was like, oh, you can join Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups where they're advertising properties to rent. You can also look at the local real estate websites, but a lot of them were in Spanish, it's not ideal if you're coming to Colombia and you don't know Spanish. And there is quite a lot of people who come here, and I have met them. Their Spanish is not great. Gracias a Dios puedo hablar un poco de español, pero todavía estoy aprendiendo. Thank God I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but still I'm learning, so I'm still not quite there. But with that in mind, I thought, okay, like this is my opportunity to build some kind of a command line app to search all these different places and show me, oh, this is what's available, and also to convert the prices from Colombian pesos into the currency that I was used to, which was pound sterling, being from Northern Ireland in the UK. And then after a while, I kept adding more stuff into it, and between myself and my girlfriend, we were going through this command line app, and it didn't look that great. I don't think that's very attractive for anyone to use. And I thought, okay, well, I want to see what I can build in terms of UI and do this all together and make it easier for both of us to review these properties. And as time went on, I got more and more features done. And then there was a Revenue Cat hackathon where they're encouraging people to submit an app to the Google Play Store and to the Apple App Store. And for me, I had already been working on a web app at last stage, but thanks to Widgetbook, I was able to quickly pivot from a web app, Flutter web app, and see what it would look like in a mobile app. And all the while, one of the things I think it's a really good idea to do is to share your journey whenever you're building apps with hashtag build in public. So if you're ever interested in see what exactly is going on with Casa, you can just follow me in any of my social media accounts, which you can find on my website, which is marcos.dev. wherever one you want to follow me on. It could be X, could be Blue Sky, could be Threads, wherever you want. You'll see some updates there. And really, like, it really started from there. That hackathon was the motivation for me to turn around and be like, I want to take this full time. I want to quit my job. I want to focus on it. I saved up enough money where I could self-fund this. And right now I'm approaching basically a V1 version of this application. So there's still quite a bit to do. The last major milestone, which is left would be the host aspect, where hosts can go in there and upload their own apartments and properties and make it available for people to rent. And once I have that, I would say it would be V1 ready. But right now it's basically MVP. So I'll give a demo of what I have so far, and I can share this with everyone.
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
Matt, before to start the demo, one question. Why do you choose Flutter?
Why did I choose Flutter? So Flutter, based on my background, I was actually an Android developer before I went and discovered Flutter 8 years ago. I had worked at 2 other startups before I found my first contracting work with Flutter. I was very fortunate to be working alongside Simon Lightfoot and Dev Angel's team based out of London. They had clients all across the world, and he was really of the opinion he didn't really care where I was as long as I got the work done. So that allowed me to live that digital nomad lifestyle. And basically, whenever I was in my first startup job doing native Android, there was a conversation I had with the CTO, and I went along the lines of, we are thinking of adopting a cross-platform solution. We want to merge the 2 teams together. We think it would be more cost-efficient. And I'm sure a lot of you guys in here and people here listening and watching have heard this conversation, where cross-platform is instead of getting an iOS developer and an Android developer, you get one cross-platform dev, and they can do the job of 2 people. So it's very cost-efficient, especially for startups. And it was at that point I actually discovered Flutter from a very, very early stage. I think it was back in 2017. So this is before Flutter 1.0. And I had my own frustrations with what was going on at that time. There's no easy way to change the icons for the apps. So that actually took me down this path of suggesting this as an idea to the Flutter team. They got back to me and said, okay, you could probably do this as a package, and that actually led to the creation of the Flutter Launcher Icons package. But it's been amazing to really be a part of Flutter from the very start and really see how it's changed over time and be a part of that community as well. Sadly, in my first job, whenever I did speak to my CTO and I did experiment with React Native and Flutter, he made the decision to go for React Native. And there's a reason why that was a job that I left. So I didn't actually enjoy working with React Native, but I feel very fortunate because it gave me the experience to know exactly how React Native worked, how it compared to React as well, learning from the experienced React developers in that startup and hear their opinions of what the difference was at that time. So that was really beneficial and for me. And in the job after that was still native Android, unfortunately, because the Flutter wasn't really that popular at that time. Sorry, do you have a question?
Just sorry for interrupting you, Mark. No, because you're talking about the question that another person asked before. Jay Bradman says Flutter 3.36 versus React Native 0.76 in terms of efficiency. That's what you're talking about now.
Flutter's better.
Your own point, of course.
Yeah, my opinion, Flutter's better, but I'm just going to say that because that means I get more jobs. I'm going to tell everyone Flutter's better. I can, in a more serious answer, I can give a very good comparison between the latest version of React Native and the latest version of Flutter because I have not touched React Native in so many years. I think it would be worthwhile speaking to someone who maybe made the transition from React Native to Flutter recently to hear their thoughts. But anytime I read about it on the Flutter subreddit, it's usually a case of, there are so many complications with React Native, dependency hell, everything else. And then they're like, the developer experience is so much nicer with Flutter. but I know that's heavily skewed because we are part of the Flutter community. You're not going to get people coming into the Flutter community going, React Native is amazing, bye, I'm going back to React Native. So yeah, that's my opinion on that question. But thank you.
Hot reload.
So
Not reload, exactly. Yeah.
You were going to show your beta stuff or whatever?
Yes. Yes,
So you
so I
have
can
a
show
website
the
already.
current. I can show the website. So the website's quite interesting in terms of like it is built not in Flutter. It's actually built in a Dart framework called Jasper. And this is the reason for that. People are aware that there is some problems with the SEO with Flutter. The startup time is also not the best either. So if you want to check out this website, it's casa.xyz. At the minute, it's very, very basic, and that's really with intention. I'm heavily focused, along with my girlfriend. We're developing out the features for the mobile app, and it's really a case of I want to showcase their social media accounts that people can follow the project on, but also to tick the box when it comes to the App Store, having the privacy policy included here, and also having terms of service as well. But not only that, I think something which is really cool, and I haven't seen this done with many other companies yet, is that I thought it'd be really nice to be able to adopt Flutter embedding. So this is actually a Flutter app inside of the website. You can scroll here and actually make use of this website, which is really cool. And it's actually scrolling the sidebar for some reason. I don't know why. Apologies. Always whenever you demo something that doesn't go according to plan. But this is essentially what you can expect whenever you get access to the application. So you can tap on one of the listings here. It gives you a breakdown in terms of like, here's all the different photos you can see. You can see where the location is in terms of the map. You can see how much it costs, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, the size and feet. But we also have the ability to switch your preferences. So, for example, if you prefer meters squared instead of feet squared, you can switch that preference, so it'll be a lot easier for you to use. And then we also outlined the features which are present inside of the listing. And finally, there's some information there about the published date. And there's a button here. So this is actually interesting because this button, I received very, very good feedback from one of the early users who told me it actually looks like a chat support or like a support chat button, which whenever I was trying to get this shipped for MVP, I was like, okay, this will do for now. And it was a really good piece of feedback because I've taken that on board. And in the new version of Casa, that will be replaced. So this is the website at the minute. And I will be able to show the emulator. So can everyone see my emulator, or do I have this changed?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, 1 second. I'll go back to this. Let's go share your screen. This again. You can see the emulator now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
No.
No,
Here,
it went away.
here.
Sorry.
Here.
Okay, so this is the same app pretty much. There's been some improvements since the last time I updated the embedded app, which is really nice. So again, of course, you go inside here, you can see all the different photos, go through it. You can scroll if you want, go through all the photographs. You can click on the map, which will actually open up Google Maps and allows you to look around the area. It doesn't show you exactly the location of the property because one of the pieces of feedback I got from a host was, look, I think this could be a security concern if you actually give away the exact location. So it's kind of like this is the boundary where you can expect to find the apartment or the property. And that gives users a good idea of what kind of area in Medellin it would be based. Another improvement and suggestion we got from our community and our early users was frequently asked questions. So people want to know what payment methods can they use, are utilities included, do they need to pay a deposit, and what documents are needed to rent an apartment. And all of these are all these are all included now. Will be available whenever we launch this next version. This was actually the last feature we have been working on. So whenever I get over to show on Widgetbook, and apologies if my Widgetbook isn't laid out the best, Lucas, I don't want to do a bad representation. But this is what I was using. I was using Widgetbook to focus on this component, and I can show how I did that, show the widget itself in Widgetbook, and then just show this page itself as well. So go through check availability. This allows you to see a preview of the message that you'll send to the host or the state agent. And basically, if you want, you can set what date you're going to be arriving. So it could be, okay, I'm going to arrive tomorrow, 14th of February, and I'm going to be staying there for 1 month. So I'm going to be staying until the 14th of March, 2025. That would actually be put into the preview of the message. And from here, I can't demo this because it's an emulator, but what this does is that it opens a direct communication with the state agent or the host in WhatsApp. So it allows you to go back and forth with them and to find out the availability and also to arrange the viewing. One of the improvements that I do want to get in the future would be the ability to see what is currently available. It's not currently possible right now because we don't have that back and forth with the host right now. The host, of course, not there. Hopefully that will be coming in the next month or so. Just going back here.
Well,
yep.
One thing. I really love it because the user experience looks really, really awesome. I was wondering if you have planned to replicate this on web. Do you have plans to move this on the web, or maybe only on the mobile at the beginning, or is your plan?
Yeah, so web is definitely on the roadmap for 2025. It's going to be the primary focus for the second half of the year. I think for now, the most important thing is to make sure the flow in terms of communicating with the host and checking availability will be fixed in the next update. And then following on and building on top of that would be the host functionality. But it's definitely in the pipeline. And it's quite interesting because the original story, which I shared with some of you before this call started, or the show started, it originally was a web app whenever I first started, but then Revenue Cat had a hackathon where they are encouraging you to release to the app stores. And I had not released anything to app stores, and I thought, okay, this is a good chance to win some cash prizes. So I actually converted everything from Flutter Web into just a Flutter mobile app, and this is the result of that. But I can show you, it's amazing because I still have some of the old designs from the web app, and you can actually see them in Widgetbook. So I will get onto that afterwards. So another thing inside here. Sorry, go ahead.
I have seen you a couple times talking or asking to the community, like, which do you prefer, this flow or this flow? You did it with the filters, and I think, if I'm not wrong, you did it other times, or at least I read you do it this other time. I really love when the people, use the community to discuss about the best approach to do something. So it's the beautiful way to be close to the community.
Thank you very much. It's an approach that I'm very passionate about and that I love to see as well. And I have to give credit to Sebastian, the creator of HabitKit, because he was very open on his journey with HabitKit and what he was building. And I think that, as a community, we have so many knowledgeable people in terms of like the different types of apps we've built. And I think we can harness the knowledge of the entire community just by sharing more. I know legally that people working for some corporations aren't legally allowed to do that, but because this is my own startup, this is something I'm building myself. There's nobody telling me, oh, you can't do that. So I'm more than happy to share my journey with everyone so they can see my thought process, what I'm doing, the different things I'm considering doing, and getting feedback from community. And basically, because I'm bootstrapping this and self-funding, I don't have the resources to bring on dedicated designers, and that would cost like a lot of money. So I'm trying to maintain my runway and maintain that money to get this out and get this into the hands of people here in Medellin, get feedback and expand it to further cities afterwards.
Mark, what is currently holding you back from launching?
Pardon?
What is currently holding you back from launching?
So right now, the reason why we haven't done a public launch is really to ensure that the costs will stay low. The last thing I want is a huge spike in usage. The backend's powered through Superbase. So we have like, say, I don't know, 1,000 users all of a sudden coming on board and starting to create accounts and everything else. And it's not really appropriate for the entire world right now because we only have apartments in Medellin because that's where we currently live in. We're trying to solve a problem for ourselves first. And for me, I want to get to the stage where I gradually onboard more people. That allows me to manage the costs and make sure I won't hit the spikes, which push me onto higher tiers of all the different services I could be using. So that could be likes of Superbase for the backend, it could be Resend for the email, whatever I'm going to be using for analytics. I'm using basically Looklog from Look Spaghetti right now, but I'm looking into a couple of different solutions for that as well. So it's really to do with cost management for now, but also to ensure like we can give the best performance, because the last thing we want to do is spike up. Next thing, Superbase has turned us off and people are like, why can't I log in? Why can't I sign up? So I think that'll be a very bad experience.
So Mark, I was wanna ask you a little bit of the same thing. I mean, you're a startup. I mean, you're going to launch the product at some moment, and then what is your?
Yep.
And we have to start to close because we are 90 minutes on the streaming. What is your?
Yep.
You say that you are supporting all the costs. You are alone doing the development. You have tight costs on the whatever cost that you have, but at some point you will have to do the next step. Maybe you want to have this from revenue from the application, or maybe you will look for some partners with money, some associates, or it's a not related code question. It's a more a business.
Yeah, this is something I've went back and forth with people who've approached me and talked to me about this application. What I've done so far, the early users, it's a question they usually have, because they look at this app right now and they're like, okay, I recognize that you're doing this as a business. Where are you going from this? Like, where's the money going to be coming from? Are you raising from investors? And the truth about that is I don't actually believe in the current model that Airbnb have taken in terms of slapping 15% on top of all the prices. It's causing widespread inflation of rental prices across the world. I think whenever you shake the hands with the VCs and you take a small funding, it can be great in certain scenarios, but actually it puts a lot of pressure on you as a startup to start hitting targets faster. And that could be user adoption, that could be revenue milestones, and eventually hitting profit. Whereas if I can still fund this for as long as possible, the only person I need to satisfy in terms of the profit level is myself. And that's not, provided I'm making enough money to sustain my living, then that means I don't have the same pressure to go for huge fees and try and extract money from my users at any stage. So that's the reason why I'm trying to stay clear, and I pretty much decided I'm not going to be taking external funding for this.
Very, very clear. Very good. So, guys, we are 20 minutes on the streaming. As I said, I don't know if you have, Alfredo, maybe a fast question or whatever to Lucas or to Mark.
No, I only want to say that very nice product. Like I want to support you in the way that you find a gap or you find a problem to solve. But it's very nice. As a developer, we can do this kind of thing, and it's very, very nice.
Thank you.
So, Lucas, thank you very much also for presenting Widgetbook. I don't know you guys, Mark and Lucas, if you know, but Alfredo, Víctor, and me, we share also another parallel interest. We run an open source community regarding all Google project, and we have plenty of people in the streaming seeing us. and of course there will be other persons. We will take seriously to use Widgetbook this summer in upcoming projects. You will be informed about this. So guys, Víctor, any other question?
You 1 second?
Please,
Yeah, of
Just
course.
before we go, because I did promise Lucas that I would demo Widgetbook here, and I think that would actually be really good for the community to see this. So I will share my screen and show, because I have Widgetbook here as well, so people can actually see what's happening with Widgetbook in terms of my project.
Not a demo of the owner, but a demo of the customer.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. So this is Widgetbook in terms of Casa. Like I said, whenever I was given the demonstration, the latest feature that I was working on was in case of being able to add people who ask the questions. Of course, you can interact with the widgets inside of Widgetbook, which is really, really powerful. And then within this, I was able to say, okay, I want to check the apartment listing page and see how this looks inside. So this allows me to go in here and preview, and I can see, okay, everything looks as expected. Everything looks as expected now, but whenever I was doing this, of course, there were some weird, strange issues. I had to do some adjustments. And of course, I can change my device and make sure it works as expected on all the different devices as well. The last thing I want to say, I had a question about the web view.
Oh, nice.
This is what Widgetbook allows me to do. So this is the initial design I had for the web app. I was going through, you can see some of the things are not working as expected anymore. A little bit out of place. But that is actually pretty much exactly how it was before I abandoned the web app. And it means whenever I go back to doing this, I can go through and start playing about with Widgetbook and see how all the different screens are going to look on web. So, of course, these are all the different screens, doing filters. So we filter by price range, bedrooms, bathrooms, must-have features. So, for example, if you need to have an apartment with air conditioning because it's going to be 30 degrees, you put that in there. And then what else do we have here? So I'm trying to think.
Awesome.
Admin page. Yeah.
Mark, was it hard for you to get the pages into Widgetbook?
I think what I would recommend everyone doing, it can be a little bit difficult, like you said, whenever you have to mock things. If you're not already aware of how to do mocking in terms of your Flutter apps. I have done a lot of mocks just through testing other client projects and making sure they had a test suite which covered their essential processes, making sure that people can go through and buy products. So it was pretty straightforward for me. I've actually created some custom live templates to generate the Widgetbook boilerplate a lot faster for myself. But for me, it's so easy to build out now. And to go through all the different widgets, it's super simple to go through. Of course, some of these knobs, I can change the apartment which is displayed. I can change display mode, so I can preview all the different settings here as well. So, yeah. Anyway,
Very
any
nice.
questions, or should I stop sharing?
No, stop sharing, please. Very nice, because this been a real demo of the user, not the one for Lucas that was very tested already. So, guys, thank you very much for your presentation again. I'm pretty sure you are winning today a few more users. So, Alfredo, thank you again for always staying with us. Víctor, it's been a pleasure to see you again and again and again. To listen to your family, we listen to your family just behind you. I think it's 8:30 at least here. And what time is it in Medellin? You are in the morning, Mark?
So it's 2:30 here. So it's afternoon. I have to get some lunch shortly.
That's the point. You have to get some late lunch, and we have to get some, dinner. Guys, thank you very much, Lucas, Mark. Thank you for staying with us. Guys, see you on next time on the Dart Conversations. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.